Drugs often have several names. When a drug is first discovered, it is given a chemical name, which describes the atomic or molecular structure of the drug. The chemical name is thus usually too complex and cumbersome for general use. Next, a shorthand version of the chemical name or a code name, such as RU486, is developed for easy reference amongst researchers. When a drug is approved by the Food and Drug Administration, the government agency responsible for ensuring that drugs marketed in the United States are safe and effective, it is given a generic official name and a trade proprietary or brand name. The trade name identifies it as the exclusive property of a particular company. For example, phenytoin is the generic name and dilantin is the trade name for the same drug. In the United States, an official body, the United States Adopted Names, USAN, Council, assigns the generic name. The company that manufactures the drug chooses the trade name. Generic and trade names must be unique to prevent one drug from being mistaken for another when drugs are prescribed and prescriptions are filled. To prevent this possible confusion, the FDA must agree to every proposed trade name. Government officials, doctors, researchers, and others who write about the new compound use the drug's generic name because it refers to the drug itself, not to a particular company's brand of the drug or a specific product. However, doctors usually use the trade name on prescriptions because it is easier to remember, and doctors usually learn about new drugs by the trade name. Generic names are usually more complicated and harder to remember than trade names. Many genetic names are a shorthand for the drug's chemical name, structure, or formula. In contrast, trade names are usually catchy, often related to their intended use, and relatively easy to remember so that doctors will prescribe the drug and consumers will look for it by name. Trade names often suggest a characteristic of the drug. For example, low pressure lowers blood pressure. Vivactil is an antidepressant that might make a person more vivacious. Glocotrol lowers high blood sugar, glucose levels, and skilaxin relaxes skeletal muscles. Sometimes the trade name is simply a shortened version of the drug's generic name, for example, minosin for minocycline. The term genetic, when applied to such items as foods and household products, is used to describe a less expensive, sometimes less effective, or lower quality copycat version of a brand name product. However, most generic drugs, although usually less expensive, are generally as effective and of the same quality as the brand name drug. In the United States, a company that develops a new drug can be granted a patent for the drug itself, for the way the drug is made, for the way the drug is to be used, and even for the method of delivering and releasing the drug into the bloodstream. Thus, a company often owns more than one patent for a drug. Patents grant the company exclusive rights to a drug for 20 years. Additional patents can sometimes be filed to extend the patent life. Usually about 10 years elapse between the time a drug is discovered, when the patent is obtained, and the time the drug is improved for human or veterinary use, leaving the company only about half of the patent time to exclusively market a new drug. The FDA often accelerates the approval of drugs to treat AIDS, cancer, and other life-threatening disorders for which no current treatment exists. After a patient has expired, other companies may produce and sell a generic version of the drug, typically at a much lower price than the original trade name drug. However, before generic drugs can be marketed, they must be approved by the FDA. A generic drug may be sold under its generic name or under a trade name, a branded generic drug, but not under the trade name used by the original patent holder. Not all off-patent drugs have generic versions. Sometimes a drug is too hard to duplicate or replicate, or adequate tests are not available to prove that the generic drug acts the same as the trade name drug.
A little tough.